YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage back with some faction focus, and this time it is going to be the Arverni. And this battle is going to demonstrate a point, I hope. And I actually brought an Arverni build here that I wouldn't typically bring. I brought a fair amount of cavalry and also a pretty expensive force of archers, which is risky, I think, with the Arverni because their strength lies in their infantry. And then I've got a nice, powerful sword line, though, of chosen swordsmen. Again, not super high tier, but these guys are pretty good. And then I've also brought an Oathsworn, just in case the Seleucids fielded some of their own elite sword infantry. Because that's what I expected. I expected thorax swords, royal peltas, potentially armored elephants, but my opponent brought a crap load of pikemen and a crap load of archers. I want to say like 8 Persian archers, and he's got some silver shield pikemen. These guys do have excellent armor, but elite pikemen, I have just never ever seen them pay off in a battle unless it was a campaign battle. They are just extremely hard to get them to pay off in multiplayer, so I do not recommend it. Anyway, he's got 2 Agema Cav, 2 horse skirmishers, a ton of pikemen, and then silver shield pikemen, then again a trash load of archers. I want to say at least 8 of them. Yeah, 8 of them. And so my 4 archers, which I thought would be a fairly substantial force here, are actually going to be horribly outgunned. And I'm going to use my spear warriors and stuff on the flank to try and just zone out his skirmish cavalry and not let it get any shots on my heavy horse. And I'm going to have to keep my own archers at a distance. So I think what my opponent's thinking was here was that, hey, I'm going to bring a trash load of archers so that if my opponent tries to outflank me, I'll just shoot him to death. Not a bad plan necessarily, but when you think about the Arverni, they have access to heavy horse, which is quite good and it's quite cheap. Also, they have access to tons of infantry if they want to bring it, which means that theoretically I could outnumber you here. But again, if you think about the strategy, if you come too close and then split around his pikes and start trying to outflank, you're going to just get showered with missiles as you go around. And I think that that's his idea. But I think the weakness in his plan right now is that he's only got 1 unit here to really keep me from getting behind his lines. So I could easily just sacrifice 1 heavy horse and then take my other guys around. And every time he turns the pikeman to protect, unless he makes a full box, he's going to be making gaps, and you can exploit the gaps. And so here I just wanted to test my opponent and kind of see what he would do. So I move up my Levy Freeman within archer range, and he opens fire on them. So spaghetti lines of Levy Freeman are not going to be a good way to get a payoff out of your archers. Spaghetti lines, I stole that from Maximus, I guess I heard him say it, so apologize for stealing that. If it is copyrighted, I guess that I owe you some royalties there, my friend. But in any case, yeah, I've got these guys spread out, and I'm going to bait as many volleys as my opponent wants to send at me. I mean, if he wants to keep firing, I'm more than happy to let him shoot however much ammo it takes to kill my Levy Freeman. It's totally worth it for me. His horse skirmishers act like they want to come in here. They really don't, because my Gallic hunters are going to turn around and just shred them with fire. Fortunately, they do run away, but they're going to get a pretty nice killing here. Yeah, not what they wanted. So that horse skirmisher has taken a lot of losses. Now, right here, I let this chase his horse skirmisher too long, and a charge right here from his Agema Cav would have destroyed that spear warrior, but he didn't charge. And I think that was a big mistake there as well. So now I am going to go ahead and start splitting my men, but I'm going to do it in such a way to try and make it harder for my opponent to do what it is that I'm sure he's planning. I'm going to force back his archers with my Levy Freeman, and then just kind of stay right in front of his men. And I'm going to start just moving a couple of units with spear support and with cav support around the flank, so that's going to nullify his Agema Cav. And again, my opponent's going to go ahead and start firing at my Levy Freeman. That's fine. I've still got these 3 units here in the center in order to keep my opponent honest. And while his archers are busy with my Levy Freeman, I start firing on his silver shield pikemen, who, despite their good armor, don't have a good shield value. And so, despite the fact that they have great armor, it's not going to protect them forever against massed missile fire. And you can see that his silver shield pikemen are already falling. It's very easy to kill phalanx units with archers on Rome 2, and so this is why elite phalanx units are never recommended by me, at least. And you can see the strength of the Arverni here against this type of army is their maneuverability, and their ability to bring a lot of numbers, their maneuverability. So again, the only way for my opponent to make this work would just be a straight up pike box, and there's no way that his pike box would be able to protect 8 archers. There just wouldn't be enough room. So in this case, I don't see this going well for the Seleucid player. And over here you can see me implementing my plan. So see how he starts to turn his pikes? There's a small gap here in his lines, and you better believe I'm going to exploit it with these Levy Freemen. So I'm going to just try and squeeze my men through this little gap here, just to be a nuisance. I'm going to chase his archers back. All the while, the Silver Shield pikes just keep getting fired on. And again, my Levy Freeman going to get in his way here and just be annoying. That's all I really need to do. Again, see, now has a game of calves busy. And then I've got his units out here turned, which now there's a gap here as well. So you can see that I'm just going to keep doing this to my opponent and just expose as many gaps as I can. Now, at this point, he does turn his archer fire on my Gallic Hunters, and I was not quick enough to run away. So I am going to take some casualties here on my Gallic Hunters that I really shouldn't have. Should have pulled back the minute he started firing at them. But yeah, my opponent's flanks are getting opened up here. And see how I'm just going to keep moving around him with the spearmen, and if he turns towards these guys, then I'm going to charge with the swords. And if I charge this unit, you know, I mean, he just can't keep up at this point. It's not a good thing. He charges his skirmish cav in, which I'm not really sure what the point of that was. Not to be mean or anything. I don't skirmisher cav. He probably would have been better off to just still be over here trying to harass my archers with it. He does pull it out though, which was good. Then over here, he is going to get a nice charge on my heavy horse because I'm not paying attention. But again, look at the gaps here that are being created. I'm going to take advantage of it. So his Agema Cab was the only unit he had to protect his flanks, and now I'm just going to make him pay for that. So he does start firing my Chosen Swordsman. Good idea. But again, look, more gaps here, and his archers are blobbed trying to fire my men over here. So that means they're not busy focusing on my infantry line, which is now approaching. Again, see the gaps here? I'm just going to start trying to take advantage of this. His pikes can't face more than one direction at once, so they get rear charged and are getting annihilated by Chosen Swordsman. And then again, I'm just going to ignore this pike unit, and when I do, it's going to open another gap. So see, I can form a wedge here and try and sneak on through, and then I can just pull back from his pikes. His general's now dead, so a Silver Shield pikeman with 0 kills. Not what he wants. This many archers can be quite powerful, but blobbed up, it slows down their rate of fire and then makes them easier to catch. And so my opponent does have an Agema Cav, but he's going to lose a lot of archers right here, and he actually leaves the game at this point. So not necessarily the ideal battle for me to show a faction focus, but I think there's some important lessons to be learned here. The Arverni are kind of an interesting barbarian faction, in my opinion. They're actually fairly strong, I think. You all can disagree with me, and let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. I also feel like the Boii are decent, just because of what they can bring. So if we go take a look at the Arverni here, really my liking of the Arverni is they're infantry heavy, and they do have some very stout sword infantry. Again, Chosen Swordsmen are not the end-all be-all in sword fights, but they're pretty good. Not bad at 720. Really, these Celtic warriors are also quite nice. They can be very disruptive on the flanks. They can assist in cavalry fights. Levy Freeman, also a very interesting unit. They're very cheap, and you'd be like, "Hey, how are Levy Freeman interesting?" Everybody's got them. They're just a cheap unit that hurls javelins before they fight, and they have a nice bonus versus cav. They're great for charge bait. They're great as meat shields. They can throw javelins at cavalry. They can throw javelins at elephants. They're very useful, and they're cheap, so why not? And then the Arverni do have access to naked warriors too, who in a rear charge can be very devastating if you can get them into that position. Let's go through everything though. So Spear Noble Generals, I would recommend these guys if you're going to be facing cavalry heavy factions, or if you just want to put your general in a unit that's not going to be easy to kill. The Oathsworn will give your general more killing power. I don't really know if I see the point in putting your general in a noble horse anymore, because super heavy melee cav has kind of been nerfed in general in the recent patches, and I just haven't seen a whole lot of use for it. It's good that they have this unit. It is a powerful unit, but I don't see it being as important as it would have been in past patches. Melee infantry, again, nice selection. Everything from these Celtic warriors up to Oathsworn, each having their purpose. These guys are specialized anti-infantry units, and again, if they can get a rear charge or an uninterrupted charge, they will be very deadly. But be careful, they're going to die very quickly to cavalry, and they're also going to die very quickly to missile fire. As far as spears, nice selection. You got spear warriors, so if you're serious about fending off cavalry, spear warriors are a good choice. If you're just looking for more numbers, you may want to go with Levy Freeman. Chosen Spearmen, I don't really know how I feel about these guys, because they cost about the same as a hoplite, but they would get beat down by a hoplite. They probably are a little more potent versus cavalry than a hoplite, just because they have cavalry counter tactics, but I just don't see them being as useful as a hoplite. I see some people using them, and I'm not going to sit here and say that you shouldn't, but I don't know what their specific purpose would be. Again, Spear Nobles can be an interesting unit in a very limited circumstances, but they are a very strong spear unit. As far as Skirmishers go, this is where the Arverni are going to be a little bit weak. Celtic Skirmishers are okay for javelin men. Again, you could use them to fend off elephants, same thing with the Celtic Youths. Celtic Slingers are pretty crappy, but they are cheap long-range firepower. Gallic Hunters really aren't that bad for archers, except for that they don't have a lot of armor, and for not having a lot of armor, they're pretty expensive because they have the snipe ability. Now, if you could see yourself using these on a map where you can keep your guys unseen and actually fire, great. It's not going to happen real often, though, and it's going to be tricky. Cavalry-wise, I really like their selection of cavalry because they have everything from light horse to the heavy horse, which this is an excellent mid-tier cavalry. Very good. And then you've also got noble horse. Excuse me, I had to sneeze, so I tried to mute it. Celtic, or Savage Hounds, I don't really see a whole lot of use for. Maybe if you could get them at the back of enemy units or something, they could be useful. I used to think using them against horse archers was good, but they cost more than the horse archer. Maybe it's still good, I don't know. And then, of course, they have some artillery. So where do I see the Oathsworn being good? I see them being good at heavy infantry fights. Taking on Rome could be pretty challenging with them because obviously someone can use Avocati Cohort and Armored Legionaries to basically just offset your 1340 talent Oathsworn, but I still have seen people with infantry heavy builds been able to take out Rome. So it's not a matchup I would say that favors the Arverni, but it is possible in the right hands. I would think against other barbarian factions they'd be a pretty good pick. You saw them in my other videos trying to counter Carthaginian sword rush, which they probably kind of can. Again, though, I think Carthage does have a few more tools, and you'd have to be careful there because Carthage is also a good faction. But that's kind of where I'd place the Arverni. I'd kind of place them as a mid-tier faction as far as overall strength, and their main usability would be as an infantry-heavy faction, and that's where I would recommend them in a situation where you think going infantry-heavy would be smart. So, but again, don't forget about their heavy horse. That is a great horse unit for that price. And they have a pretty nice charge bonus along with Frenzied Charge, so they can be quite useful in rear charges. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this Faction Focus. HeirofCarthage, signing off for now.